Xbox One will launch this November in 21 markets around the world at $499 in the US, and 499 euros in European markets, and 429 pounds in the UK.
All right, that was Phil Spencer on stage yesterday at the Microsoft press conference, and this is our annual live bonus round at E3, and we've got an absolutely amazing panel to break down all the press conferences and grade them. So let me introduce them to you. They'll be with us for the next hour. First of all, we're starting with Jason Rubin, of course known as the co-founder of Naughty Dog. Jason, great to have you on the bonus round. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks. Jeff.
Also got Andy Mack, Andy McNamara, as he's known, the editor-in-chief of the largest video game magazine in the world, Game Informer. Andy Mack, great to have you here for your insights.
Great to be here, Jeff.
And finally, the editor-in-chief of Giant Bomb, Jeff Gertzman. Jeff, it is great to have you with us as well.
It's always great to be
right off the stage of Giant Bomb Live, right?
Yes, that's right.
Although I heard there was an issue yesterday with some security or police or something.
You know, I might have to borrow all your cameras at this point because ours got up and walked away. So we'll figure something out after. I'll, slip you some cash.
You always have a home with us.
Great.
So let's start with Microsoft. Big announcement yesterday, really two announcements. 3 weeks ago, they revealed the box, talked about it, a lot of controversy in the wake of that. Then yesterday, they revealed a lot of games and the price. Let's start with just sort of talking about the state of Microsoft's business and the way they're communicating with consumers. I think there's a growing sentiment online that Microsoft is anti-consumer. Jason, what's your take on that?
Yeah, I think it's two things, the state of the business and the way that they're speaking to the consumer. Okay. And it's unfortunate that I think the state of the business is good, but the conversation with the consumer has not done a good job of explaining what they're doing. I think there are a lot of subtleties to the hardware that they haven't done a great job explaining.
Right.
Personally, I think it's awesome to have an HDMI input in the back of the machine. They haven't explained to us why. In kind of the same way that I got a smartphone, I didn't know why GPS was in it. It made the map work well, that's great. Now we have Uber, right? People figured out how to take the hardware, take this ability and turn it into something. At no time has the hardware had the technical potential of the new Xbox and also been able to take video in for your TV. And I think there's a huge upside to that, outside of gaming. They focused on it, didn't explain it well. Yeah. It's a great thing to have, didn't do a good job of explaining to the public why they want it. And I think you can just keep kind of going with that. I think Microsoft is very deeply thought out the next generation. I think they have a great hardware, but they haven't done a good job of communicating with us why it's that great hardware. And now they have to explain why it's $100 better, which makes it even harder.
And there's also this sense amongst consumers, I think, that Microsoft's against them, that they have all these draconian policies about DRM and used games and things like that. Andy, I mean, what's your take on that? Because I mean, Sony certainly, we'll talk about Sony in a bit, but I mean, they certainly saw an opportunity and seized the day by saying we're not going to restrict games and whatnot. Why is Microsoft so infatuated with this? What do you think is driving that? Is it money? Is it control?
It isn't always money and control, I guess, a little bit at the core of anything. But I mean, I think Microsoft showed that which way Microsoft was going. I think with Office, even last year, I thought it was kind of amazing. People were surprised when they said, "Hey,
in the cloud,
Office, this is which way it's going. It's going to be subscription. This is how we're running our business." That they're moving to a digital landscape. They feel that's what they need to do as a company. And I don't think the game group decided how they were going to make DRM or how they were going to do with that. I mean, certainly they had feedback, but that's a big time decision at Microsoft. You know what I mean? To go against that grain, I think that's set in place. I think the unfortunate thing about it is that, like anything, I mean, people are going to go to digital downloads and everything like that, and the way you do that is you make it appealing. You make it a better process. It's not, you can't do this, we control which way you go and how you live. That's the biggest mistake they've made, is the fact that they've gone and said, we're going to tell you how to do it instead of enticing you how to do it, which is a big, big difference, for an entertainment company as opposed to Microsoft. It's like, we make software, we sell it, and that's their mistake.
The present is not optimal.
Right.
There is an optimal state that we can get to where gamers pay on average less for their games.
Right.
Don't get screwed by buying bad games at full price and having no options with them. And consumers in general are happier, while at the same time creating a revenue stream and feedback loop that is better for publishers. And as a publisher for only 8 months, but as looking at it, there's an inefficiency. There is money that is being spent that is falling out of the loop of developers getting funded by gamers to make better games. The perfect loop is Developers sell games, publishers sell games, gamers play those games, gamers love those games. If they don't, or if they get tired of them, money comes back into the environment. I agree with that. The problem is a lot of the money is leaking out by not going to the publishers, not going to developers, and not necessarily helping the business. And there are ways that Microsoft could have come out and changed things utterly that probably would have been accepted. Instead of carrot and stick, it seems that it was just stick. You're not going to be able to do this. What about you're not going to be able to do this and games are significantly cheaper?
Right.
Okay, we'd weigh that. What about you're not going to be able to do it through a store, but you can get Xbox credit at any time with a predetermined price, so you don't have to negotiate, and that Xbox credit could be used for anything on Xbox, whether it's another game, whether it's a movie, whether it's your Xbox Live subscription, it stays in the ecosystem instead of falling out. Any of those things, gamers would have said, well, I'll think about it.
That's the standard innovation model where games are $39 now.
We didn't get that. We didn't get that.
Yeah. So Jeff, when you look at all the games that Microsoft showed and all these things, I mean, they showed it. I mean, there were more games announced in that press conference than I think any press conference I remember in recent memory. I mean, tons of stuff for the core that people were really excited about, from Titanfall to Killer Instinct to another Halo, all that stuff. But I mean, does that not matter because there's still these bigger issues that they're facing?
I think that they didn't clear up their larger issues, and I think you look at the Xbox One, it feels like a machine that's like caught between two eras, and they're trying to sort of have it both ways, where you've got your physical stuff, you've got your television, you got your HDMI plugging into the back of it for people that still want to watch television the old-fashioned way, or and people want to put discs into systems. Like, they're supporting that. Then they've got the digital end of it. You can Netflix and all the apps, and eventually, as television transitions to the web more and more, that'll be a greater factor, and games will be right there with it, ahead of it even. So by trying to cater to both things, they have this situation where people are used to the old way. People are used to buy the disc, own the disc, do what they want with the disc. But we're eventually going to get to this digital side of things where that's going to be a little murkier and not make as much sense. I think by having both, that's what's made it seem so weird.
And again, I think they're thinking deeply. They have a lot of good ideas. There is a lot of positive to what they're doing. What we haven't gotten yet is the appropriate explanation of why it matters. And on top of that, we have a $100 price differential as of yesterday. So I don't think, look, I've been through this rodeo enough times to know today did not determine anything, yesterday didn't determine anything. We have a long time to go. Launch is only the start of the determination. Microsoft has more than enough ability to make a decision that they're going to eat, I don't know, $1 billion to drop the price by $100. Do the math on a first year sales times $100. It's not all there. They could give you Xbox Live for 2 years. They could change policies. They could drop the Kinect out of it. There are a million things they could do if they feel it's a problem that needs to be solved. They might come at it from the other way and say, we didn't do a good job explaining this. Here's why it's worth it to you. Here's what we're doing that makes sense. And if they do a good job of that, gamers will accept it. Gamers are smart. They're business people in their own business. Their business is being happy. Show them a good business, and they'll look at it.
But do you believe, do you believe Microsoft understands how to address that consumer? I mean, I think that's what gamers are mad about, is that Microsoft doesn't seem to understand who they're speaking with. You know what I mean? Like, I think they've lost some touch with like what that's about. With just doing Halo and Gears of War every other year for the last couple of years, they were kind of moving away from core games, and now all of a sudden they need those core gamers back. And I don't know that they know who they're dealing with entirely.
I think they do. They are, again, trying to bite off the hard task of both simultaneously keeping those that are afraid of change happy and changing things, which in the long run is good for all of us.